Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wildlife Conversations. I am your host, Jen Ritchie, and I'm so glad you're joining me. I know that you have so many things in your lives going on, and I hope while you're driving around or while you're doing laundry or while you're cooking dinner, you're enjoying listening to this podcast and feeling like you're part of the Wildlife Conversations family. That's what I want you to feel. So I'm excited about my guest today because I think it's something she's someone we can all relate to. We've talked a lot in this podcast about how nature and wildlife photography is a safe haven for us. And at times it can also be healing. I know it has been for me. So the photographer today found herself in a hard time in life, hard season in life, found photography, became obsessed with it, became passionate about it, and now it is her full-time profession. So splitting her time between the breathtaking landscapes of Waterton Lakes, Canada, and the vibrant ecosystems of Costa Rica, she guides photographers through private workshops and transformative retreats. She combines her expertise in photography, yoga therapy, and mindfulness to create experiences that help participants reconnect with nature and themselves. I'm excited to hear her story. Welcome, Dee Webb. I'm glad to have you today.
Thank you. That was a lovely introduction. You
Oh,
did a
well,
great job.
of course, I want people to know who you are and get your vibe before we start. So I can already tell you're in a beautiful spot.
I am. I'm in the mountain region of Costa Rica, and we're up here to shoot hummingbirds today. So it's
Oh,
the
that's
middle of the day.
wonderful. That's wonderful.
So
Before we started, I told you I'm in dreary Indiana.
yes, now there's a reason I come here for the winter.
Yes, I think we're kind of getting out of our gray season, but we've had rain the last couple of days and cold. So I can see hints that it's
Yes.
almost over. But
I head home in a month back to Canada, and
Mhm.
it always saves one little piece of winter for me when I get home.
Oh,
But
I'm
I love
sure.
it because I can get some winter shots, and it looks like I endured.
Yes,
So
that's
it's
right.
good. Yeah.
That's right. So you are not originally from Canada. You had
I grew up
sort of a journey to Canada.
I did. I grew up in Australia, and
Mhm.
actually in high school, I won a scholarship for student exchange.
Mhm.
So I went to a ranch that borders Waterton Lakes National Park when I was 17.
Mhm.
And it's like a bad Harlequin romance novel. I ended up marrying the hired man. So that's how I ended up in Canada, and that's how I ended up in Waterton. Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. And what a beautiful place for a student exchange.
Yeah, I really wanted to go to South Africa. My parents, it was not stable at the time. It was in the early 90s, and my parents said no, but I guess the universe had a bigger plan. So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
tell everybody in Canada where that is, where Waterton Lakes is, and Waterton Lakes National Park, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I live just outside of the park.
Hmm.
The family that I came on student exchange with, I have become their adopted daughter, whether they like it or not, and I never really left. So Waterton Lakes National Park is right above Glacier. So
Hmm.
Glacier and Waterton are actually joined, and it's an international peace park. So we're in Alberta and right on the border of Alberta and Montana.
Oh, that's very cool. That's when I said where you were from to my husband. He remembered being in Glacier and hitting that point
Yes.
where it said, yeah, it's Waterton. Yeah, that's very cool. I've never been to Glacier. I've been to Banff and Jasper.
Yeah.
So I just need to go to those areas and see what that's like because I loved it when we were there. We've been twice to Banff and Jasper and I just loved it. So gorgeous.
Waterton is quite a small park. It's
Hmm.
beautiful. And whenever
Hmm.
photographers come there, they're like, nobody told us about it. It's so quiet. So
Yes, that's what I was wondering.
we don't have we don't have the space to have as many people as Banff
Hmm.
or Jasper, but
Hmm.
it is spectacular. And
Hmm.
the problem with Waterton is it has two weathers. It has absolutely stunning and absolutely horrific.
You got to hit it right.
Yeah,
Well,
we
that's
call
what I was
it mountain.
thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
when you
call it
said
mountain
winter.
tax.
Oh, yes, that's so true.
Yes.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Like when you said you'll go home and you'll still get a hint of winter. I remember being in Banff like April 30th, May 1st, and it was very winter.
Yes. And the
Yeah.
wind in Waterton can be
Oh, brutal.
quite the thing. My number one tip for the wind is take your sun hood off. It stops your camera from shaking
Yes,
because
that
it's
is
that
true.
windy.
Yes. Someone taught me that. Someone taught me that
Yeah,
in Alaska when we had wind. Yeah.
yeah.
So then you had an in-home business for 27 years.
Yeah, so I had my kids quite young, and
Mhm,
I actually trained as a hairdresser young in life.
mhm,
And I wanted to stay home with them. And for 27 years, I ran a home-based childcare center.
mhm.
So I had between 6 and 9 kids under the age of 5 every day. And I loved it. I loved the kids,
Oh,
every minute of it.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure they loved you too then. Yeah, what a legacy. That is fun.
Yeah, I always said I'd quit before they started having babies. And the first one called me and asked me to take their kids, and I quit. I was done.
You're like, there's my cue. I'm
Yep.
done. So you made a big career decision or life-changing decision after that home business was closed.
Yes. So it was all in the plan. When my second husband, I got remarried, and when my second husband and I had got together, we had decided that a conventional life was not really for us. So the plan was when the kids grew up and left the house that we would downsize and travel.
Mhm,
And amongst that plan, my husband got quite sick with mental health issues. And then COVID happened, which compounded everything.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm,
so getting through that uh, stage in life was not fun.
mhm.
And that's where I really started to lean in on my camera, whether I knew it or not. I'd always loved nature. When I was a kid, I was the kid out watching ants. So it
Mhm,
was
mhm.
always where I found my happy place, and I really leaned into it. I didn't know what I was doing, but every minute I could be out, I was. Um, and that's where it all started.
Yeah, something clicked. And
Yeah.
I think when you become so passionate about something as like especially photography, I was the same way. You can't help yourself. You want to be out and you want to be practicing and learning and as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, I definitely have that part to my personality. Once I decide I don't do anything I'm not good at. And once I decide I'm doing it, I'm quite obsessive about it until I figure it out. There's no halfway with me. You'll never see me
Yeah,
golf
yeah.
because until I had enough time to golf, I won't, like, you'll never see me golf. No.
I love that. I gotta think about that about myself. Like, is that true about me? I've got to think about that. That's really, that's, I mean, that's very self-aware. And so you actually acted on those plans in like 21, 22.
Yeah, so it was coming towards the end of COVID, and I
Mhm.
actually worked for all teachers in my daycare, so they all still had to work through COVID, and I didn't. It wasn't that I didn't have a job. It was that my job continued and actually escalated because there was hardly any childcare available,
Right.
and the teachers still had to work. So and I had to keep everybody safe. So that kind of escalated the situation. And then mental health wise for my husband, that situation was not great for him. Not being able to travel, or which sounds silly, but winter in Alberta is not friendly for people with mental health
No,
issues.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
And yeah, so it just came to the point where he was really unsure. And I turned to him one day and said, I'm going. Are you coming with me? Because I can't do this anymore.
That's
Yeah,
right. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so
So,
you all decided that you would split your time between Costa Rica
yes.
and Waterton Lakes, right?
Yeah, so we live in a little 22-foot trailer outside of Waterton Lakes in the summer, and everybody thinks we're nuts.
Mhm, mhm,
And then we live in a fairly nice house in Costa Rica with a pool in
mhm.
the rest of the year. So that kind of counters the trailer. We know that we're getting to the house. So, like,
That's right.
yeah, yeah,
That's right. And so that journey created a healing process for you, like changing your lifestyle completely, getting
right.
rid of things. It sounds like a lot of things, and
Yeah,
having that camera.
yeah. So the healing journey really kind of started with yoga, and
Right. Mhm.
I needed I needed to find, I was desperate to find my therapy, my happy place.
Mhm.
And if you've ever supported anyone with severe health issues, like you are constantly filling their cup and you need to fill yours. So off I went to yoga, and then because I'm obsessive, yoga wasn't enough. So I did my yoga teacher training, and then I found out about yoga therapy.
Mhm.
And yoga therapy is the practice of really the mind. It's the old style of yoga before yoga became like Pilates in our culture.
Mhm.
Yoga was about the practice of the mind. And that's where yoga therapy brings the two together. So um, that's what really clicked for me. That healing journey really started to happen when I started to understand why I needed what I needed, and to start to look for it. So
Mhm.
and go there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you actually became certified, right? Or got a certification.
I did. It's 2000 hours. It was a ton of training.
See, here's that
Um,
personality that yes.
yes, and I still feel like I could go for more. It's never enough.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I'm fascinated. It's so fascinating to me. I love that part of human nature about supporting people in their process. And it takes people watching to a whole new level. Like, you know, you're
Oh,
constantly
interesting.
then thinking, do you know why you do that? Do you know, like, oh,
I'm going to be thinking about
yeah.
that you if we ever meet in person. What is Dee thinking?
Yeah, so you know, people that so we were talking about Tracy earlier, who's been on the podcast. She was
Yes.
telling me the other day that she mopped her floor 3 times and cleaned her house incessantly. And I said, "Do you know that's a trauma response?" And she's like, "It is." So
We don't know what we're doing.
yeah,
We don't know. That is so funny. So, how did you decide I'm going to incorporate yoga therapy with photography?
I actually didn't decide. It naturally came together.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
um, I knew what it was. I was aware of what was happening for me, but I thought it was just for me. And then I ended up guiding privately. So I would take photographers out in Waterton, and I would notice things like when people would get in my vehicle and they were in a bad mood, we would not see a bear. If
Mhm.
people got in my vehicle and they were like open and excited and happy to see whatever came along, we would see everything. And I started to notice things like that. I started to notice that there was more going on than just me taking my camera out and finding my happy place.
Yeah.
And then I ended up at Light Chasers, is a photography conference that happens in Pincher Creek, which is in southern Alberta.
Mhm.
And I ended up at the Light Chasers conference, and speaker after speaker talked about their mental health journey, and that was the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed that on
Yeah.
this podcast. It is much more about gear. It's not as much about gear. It's much more about the healing journey of photography, what photography does for us, what nature does for us when we're out there, and also the negative effects of, the mindset or the competition, the scarcity. So I would assume that affects the way that you teach photography as well, just that the mindset, like you were just saying, the competition of photography and the way sometimes people treat each other in the field, but also treat themselves. So,
Yes. So there's so many layers that we can talk
yes,
about in here.
yes.
But yeah, so in yoga, we talk about the scarcity mindset. And, you know, it really shifted for me. Like I'd been through many years of, you know, things not being great in my life, and I was deep down a hole. And that
Mhm.
was one of the huge things that shifted for me was you know, if I have imposter syndrome and I think that I'm not good enough, then I'm never going to be good enough. If
Yeah.
I have that thought process that you know, that these pictures aren't good enough, that I'm not as good as you or somebody else, then I never will be. But if I can shift one little thing about how I think about that, if I can think, well, wow, I got that flower today, or
Mhm.
wow, I got, you know, looking for the good. And that's how
Yeah.
photography changes your mindset overall. So, when we go out and we have people that aren't willing to teach or that aren't willing to share that moment with you, or are they make you feel like you're interrupting them because you want to get the shot, or um, they're not getting all the benefits out of photography. There is so much to be gained from having that mindset of what can I learn today? um, you know, how can I
Mhm.
be better? How can I help that person? How can
Mhm.
I help them level up? Because it helps you level up. That energy comes into everything that you do
Yes.
once you start to live that way.
Yeah, and
So,
teaching others always helps you level up. If you know a
yes.
subject better and teach a subject, you know it even better, and it helps. And I
Yeah.
think the other thing, I wrote about this on my blog a while ago. I think this last spring, I had such a hard time in the Tetons, and I was in that hole, like a photography hole, like you said. It was just like, I can't find anything. There's nothing. And then I just was laying in bed the night when, like, my fourth night there, and like, you are in one of the most beautiful places in the world. This has to stop. What are you grateful for? What beauty are you going to see? And it was like I just had to switch it all around. It was that scarcity, like nothing good's gonna happen.
Hmm.
And I like switch it around. I went out that next morning and just thought, I'm only shooting beauty. Don't worry about what animal it is. Don't worry about what, other people are doing. And it was a beautiful, beautiful day. And it really helped switch my trip because it's
Yeah.
so about mindset to me. And
Yes.
I've said it a million times on this, like I totally struggle with it, but it
Yeah.
really is about that. And it shows in your photography and the way you treat other people, other photographers in the field, I think.
Have you noticed in your photography that even when you don't have your camera now, that you're looking like you'll see a dandelion seed and you'll be like, wow, that's so pretty. Or, look at the light on that water. Or instead of, just walking through life blindly and grumbling because there's dandelions in your grass, like you always
Yes.
now, as a photographer, look for the amazing light, the good, and I'm surrounded by people that say things like, um, well, there was no bears today, but wow, it was a beautiful day.
Yes,
Like,
that's
yeah,
true. Okay.
yeah,
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 that's a good point. I know I just did it this morning. My teenager boy, they love this with their mom. He walked out the door and I'm like, look at that beautiful sunrise.
yeah.
I'm like, don't miss it, don't miss it. And my husband was like, what are you doing? I'm like, look at that light right now. Don't miss
Yeah,
it. Don't miss it. Like,
exactly.
I'm a total, nerd now about
Yeah.
all things nature.
But it's a
So
complete shift in your mind.
it
Like,
totally is.
what an amazing way to live life, looking for all those beautiful little things. And I think
Yes.
that's what I love about macro photography. Like, it takes it
Mhm.
to a whole nother level
Yes.
because, you're looking at droplets of water, and it doesn't have to be huge. And I talk to my clients about that a lot. A lot of people say to me, oh, but you live this spectacular life where you always get to, take pictures of beautiful things, and no, that's not true. I create my life.
That's
Like, it
right.
didn't happen by mistake.
That's right. That's right. I really believe it's the actionable steps you have to take and consistency to actually create what you want. And it doesn't have to be expensive, fancy, about material things. It's about, no, I would like to spend more time in nature and notice things. And I would like to, improve my skills and have this joy,
Yes,
you know.
yes,
I wanted to
absolutely.
show this photo because you were talking about details.
Yes.
I assume
So
that's in Costa Rica.
it is in Costa Rica, and this is a red-eyed green tree frog.
Mhm.
And he's telling us that he's had enough. So that is a protective eyelid that they use under the water, and it's to
Okay.
protect their eye from light as well. So
Mhm.
this was
Mhm.
the last shot that I took, but I think it's so beautiful, the detail in his
Yes.
eyelid. It's actually gold. It's so
Mhm.
stunning.
It is stunning. I have played with macro. and rented a lens last year. So it's something that I really would like to do more of. It's hard.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
It's a whole other thing.
It's a whole level up.
Yes. I want to try that again. I want to try it
Yes.
again. It was so fun. So now that you are doing this as a full-time profession, your full-time profession, you combine these things that you've fallen in love with, photography, yoga therapy, retreats, and these
Right.
beautiful places you live. So
Uh,
how did you put that all together?
so I went down the yoga therapy path and I was seeing clients one-on-one online, which looks a little like a cross between physical therapy and counseling.
Mm-hmm.
And really, you're getting people to come to their own conclusion about why they have pain in their body, um, you know, their mindset, why, they might feel the way they do about, you know, their life or things like that. It all comes together. It's amazing
Mm-hmm.
how dealing with how you think about your life helps your shoulder pain. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and then it wasn't feeling quite right. It was not feeling like it was quite the thing. And once you've gone down this hole, you can
Yeah.
feel that. So I st I started to bring it together. I started to understand what was happening for me, and I wanted it for other people. So actually, at that Light Chasers conference, I met Tracy Halloway, and she's had an amazing journey with her physical health and photography and how that brought her back. And we came together to bring mindfulness and photography together in retreats,
Mm-hmm.
which we hold right now just outside of Waterton. It's such
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful place to remind people, like to check
Yes.
their mindset and to
Mm-hmm.
add to that. So that's how it started to come together. And it's very natural for me in this teaching space, which I love for photography, to bring it in. Like when I'm working with people privately or in groups, it's something that comes in for me often. I end up talking about their imposter syndrome or about their mindset. And I love people to shoot on manual. It always seems to come in there. It sounds odd but you're building their confidence, you're holding space for them,
Mm.
and that's where the joy comes from, bringing the two together. And they have no idea what you're doing. I don't stand next to somebody with their camera and say, "We're going to do some therapy now." So
I just love that phrase, holding space for them. I love that phrase.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
Scott Stone talks about that he loves what he does because when they see the look on people's faces the first time that they
Yes.
see a bear, and I completely relate to that when he said that on your podcast,
Yes.
um, that's how I feel too. Like when especially with women, especially um, they never think they'll get a picture of a hummingbird in flight or
Right.
stand that close to a bear or,
Right. Right.
like to give them the confidence. It then goes into the rest of their life. It changes who they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think they did talk about it. I think Tracy talked about that as well on her podcast, just watching people's lives change right before and the camaraderie between the people on the retreat or on the workshop and
Yeah.
how they go away with so much more confidence.
Yes.
Yeah, not
Yes.
only in photography, but in themselves.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's a really cool thing.
It's
It's
a
really
beautiful
cool.
thing. And what an
Yes.
amazing job to have, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, when I have that camera in my hand, I feel like I'm a totally different person. Like
Yes.
like I am not scared and my confidence is so different. And I love that feeling. Love that
Yeah.
feeling. So I see your heart for teaching, and I can tell that you have so much joy in helping others. And you have some really exciting things coming, right? You have a new venture coming that you
I
like to talk about that today?
I do. So you've had all these people on your podcast. So Scott and Jackie Stone and
Mhm.
Tracy, uh, we're all coming together to form a new company called Focus Photography or Focus Photo Tours. I
Mhm,
shouldn't
mhm.
mess that up. And yeah, so we really felt like there was a space in the photography tour industry for something a little bit different. So Scott and Jackie have been amazing in their venture with bears, and that will continue on. This is
Mhm,
separate from that venture.
mhm.
And yeah, and Tracy loves to teach, and she loves to support people in that space as well. So we've come together to form this company that will hold space for people like beginner photographers looking to come out on tour for the first time, that don't
Mhm.
feel as confident standing next to the people that
Yes.
have, the big cameras and been to Africa 6 times. We
Yes.
want to hold a space for those people to come with us. And so that is one of the things that we're very passionate about. Another one is that we want to keep it at a price point where people can afford it. We're not here to get rich. We get to do what we love every day, and
Yeah.
that's
You're rich in other
payment,
ways. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we feel very passionate about that. Um, we also all have the same mindset that when you give, you receive. So the
Mhm.
more we give, the more we give back
Mhm.
or get
Mhm.
back. So
That was so
we've
evident
set up
talking to Scott and Jackie. Yeah.
we've set up the company in that way that as we receive, we'll be able to give back more and more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And so, um, will these be tours just in where you live, or will you venture out into the world and new places?
Well, you have met Scott, and he does nothing small. And being a photographer yourself, I know that you have a long bucket list, as do I.
Yes.
And yeah, no, it is, there'll be bucket list places from Waterton. There are trips
Mhm.
to Waterton, Costa
Mhm.
Rica, Alaska, Australia, New Zealand,
Mhm.
Ecuador. Brazil is the first one. We
Oh,
kick off
wow.
with Brazil in August.
Mhm. Mhm.
We have tours for birding, for beginner macro, for night sky, for landscape. It's amazing, and the people that have come forward to help us and support us is
Mhm.
it's amazing.
So as you see these pieces coming together, and it's like feels more and more like what you were supposed to do.
Exactly. So when I
Yeah.
talked about the yoga therapy didn't quite feel
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
I have no idea why Scott and Jackie thought that they should choose me to be one of their partners, or why Jackie thought that it was a good or Tracy thought that it was a good idea.
Mhm.
But yeah, it feels right, and I think I speak for all four of us when I say that it's come together easily, seamlessly. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, it seems individually that you all have the same mission, and so it's a cohesive theme that pulls you all together and will be, a guiding force for your company. If the same
Yeah.
mission together. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really it's such an interesting foursome because Scott is great at talking. He can talk about anything, and Tracy's an accountant. That's her background, so she has that business side to her.
Mhm.
Jackie's amazing at social media and marketing and those things.
Mhm.
And I am a bit of a control freak, so I like to keep the wheels on the bus. So we're good. We're all good together.
All the different pieces coming together, which you need when you run a business.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so you said this launches like this, the announcement is coming today. And then
Yes.
officially in a
The
few
16th.
days.
Yes.
Yes. And
Yes.
then first workshop, first tour is August in Brazil.
In August in Brazil with me, Jaguars.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. That's
Yeah.
exciting. And
Yes.
have you
I'm
done that
very
before?
excited.
Are you excited to explore all these new places? I mean, I heard you say Australia, so that will be going
Yes.
home.
Yes. No, I'm
Yeah.
super excited to explore all of these
Yes,
places,
I'm
and
sure.
quite a few of them for me. I'll be bringing in that macro world, so that's something that I
Mm-hmm.
really want to explore and
Yeah.
expand. I think there's a lot of places on the planet that would be amazing for macro, and you're just not seeing those tours
Yeah.
created yet, but they're
That's
coming
true.
now.
That's true.
Yes,
They're coming now. And so it's focus photo tours, and we're gonna tell
yes,
people at the end where they can find you all. So everybody wait till the end and you can see that where you can find them, where you can sign up. And let's look a little bit at your photography.
I'd
We'd
love
love
that.
to see your images. Yes. I asked you to pick and you said it'd be like picking my babies. So we can't.
I made you pick.
I did, and I don't even know how to pick. They're all so beautiful. So you were talking about how wonderful it is just to watch someone get a hummingbird in flight. And here's a
Yes.
beautiful hummingbird in flight.
So this is actually taken where I'm at today.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
yeah, so one of my tips for getting a hummingbird in flight like this is that um, they have patterns. If you watch in any wildlife photography, if you watch and learn, you become a better photographer. So hummingbirds are no different. They have a pattern and they repeat that pattern about every 15 minutes. So
Mm.
this guy was coming up to the feeder and he would feed and back off and feed and back off. And even from individual bird in the same species, they will have little quirks that they, some will puff up and shake their head before they fly away and things like that. So watch and watch that pattern.
Oh, that is good. I did not know that. I do this in my backyard. I have one or two that use my yard as their little territory. And so, yeah, that's good to
Yeah.
know. That's very
If
good to
you
know.
watch, they will always sit on the same three branches in the
Yes.
yard. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It does do
Yeah.
that. Yes. So, what lens are you using with this, or what lens do you recommend?
So I recently upgraded, and this is the Canon R5 with the 100 to 500 on it.
Okay, great. That's what I have.
Yeah.
I love hearing that. I have that. I can do that. And then, let me see. Here's another one from Costa Rica. Let's see. Can you see
Yes.
that, Dee?
Yes.
I
So this
love the flowers in this too.
this is a squirrel monkey, and this is taken out the front of my house. They come by just about every afternoon on their way to feed, and they come through the trees across the road from my house. And again, they have little personalities, and it seems like the monkeys that come first, they are on a mission. They go really fast. But these guys that are at the back of the troop, they're like naughty little teenagers, and they'll come down to see what my camera is. Like, what are you?
Oh, oh, that is cool. That is so cool. I think we missed you for 1 second, but you said they come down and look at your camera.
Yeah, they're like naughty. The ones that come at the end of the troop, they're like, oh, am I
Yeah,
doing
you're
it
still
again?
here. Yeah, no, you're here.
Yeah.
I see ya.
Uh, yeah, so the ones that come at the end of the troop, they're like the naughty teenagers. So they like to come. I think their mums have told them not to talk to strangers, but they sure come and they're inquisitive.
That
Yeah.
is cute. I'm thinking when you said a squirrel monkey comes down to my backyard, I'm like thinking, did you
Yes.
ever think you would have said that like 10 years ago?
I
Like
have to
you are
close
now.
I have to close my kitchen window because there's no screen on it. And
Yes.
I have this vision that I'm going to wake up one morning with monkeys in my kitchen.
That sounds like it could definitely happen. That is so funny. Oh, and here is a for like a you're backing out a little bit, but we had the eye
Yeah.
earlier and now
Yes.
full frog.
Yeah, so this is so we have different species of red-eyed green tree frog in Costa Rica. So this one's found on the Caribbean side and more in northern Costa Rica than where I live.
Hmm.
So I took this one on a little trip, and I love them so much. I've loved frogs ever since I was a kid. And in Australia, I actually had a white-lipped green tree frog that lived in my bathroom, and my dad and I would feed him cat food, and he got to be huge. So I think that's where my love of frogs came from. I now
Oh,
know that ethically that's probably not the thing to do, but Who knew?
Yeah,
And
but you're a guy in your bathroom, so
you do better when you know better, right?
that's exactly
So,
right. That's exactly right. That I before we started, I said, "Dee, you're gonna have to say the names of the monkeys and the frogs because I don't know them." So I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And then, we did have some Waterton photos too. I wanted to show those. So pretty.
yeah, so this bear, I actually gave her a Spanish name. I call her Reina, which is queen in Spanish,
Oh,
and it's a term that they use to of endearment when they're talking to women. And so Reina is my favorite bear, and she is one of the bears that is definitely in tune with energy. So whenever I have a client that has great energy, she loves to bring her cubs closer and wanders around and doesn't really care if we take pictures. And if I have someone, or if someone turns up and they're not having a great day, she wants nothing to do with us. She is a
so
great
interesting.
barometer.
Yes, so interesting.
Yeah.
And how the things we don't know is so, the things we can't see is so interesting. I'm gonna come scroll down and find more. Oh, the screen share takes me a minute, but here's one too. Beautiful winter fox.
Yeah, so he looks like he's smiling. He's actually hunting. He's got his head tilted. He's
Hmm.
listening
Hmm.
for a mouse or a vole underneath the snow. And this was taken in April in one of my, little short bursts of winter.
Yes, that's nice. Very nice. I love that face they make. I have some from this past winter too. And just to watch those eyes squint and the
Yes.
head tilt, and it does look like they're kind of happy in the breeze, but they're just
Hmm.
listening. Here I am doing that. Let me be a fox for a second. Oh my goodness, I'm such a mimic. I have to be careful because I'll just go into voices and faces. But yes, that is gorgeous. And so that's April in Waterton Lakes, Waterton Lake
That's
National Park. Yeah.
it is. And
Or
it's
is
a
it a
really, yeah, it is a really quiet time it's a national park.
yes,
And it's a really quiet time in the park. And it's a time
that's
I
nice.
love to be there
I was
because
gonna
I'm
say that's perfect.
often
Perfect,
alone.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, let's see if we have this is beautiful too.
Yeah, so this I disclaimer, this happens like 3 days out of the year
Hmm.
in Waterton. So
Hmm. Hmm.
don't expect this when you come.
Well, that reminds
Uh,
me of Glacier. That's where I can see Glacier for sure. The
no, it
pictures
does.
of Glacier.
It all jokes aside, it happens sometimes. Yes, so that's the Prince of Wales Hotel on the right.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and that is a very old building. It's going to have its 100th birthday this year. So that's one of the reasons that Waterton is the park that it is. Um, and this is the beautiful Waterton Lake.
Mm.
So, yeah, one
Well,
of the
I'm coming to visit.
come on over. One of
I
the beautiful things about Waterton is these colored pebbles, and the water is glacier fed, and you can see them right out into the water.
yes, it's
Yeah.
gorgeous. So beautiful. I want to show, I think you had some Northern Lights photos too. Let's see if I can find that. Well, I can't find that, but I forgot. I want to show, we'll go back to that, but here's a beautiful one too. So many beautiful ones, Dee.
Uh,
So many beautiful.
yeah. So Waterton has an amazing elk rut in September, which
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
actually focus has a tour for just a weekend workshop. So that's one of the ways that we will offer a more affordable um, workshop for people that's just a few days long. And we understand that not everybody has the time or the means to, you know, go to Costa Rica for 2 weeks or,
Right.
so we're offering some shorter ones so that the people can put it either on the front end or incorporate it in their family vacation,
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. But
I love that idea. That's great.
we have this is a great one for new photographers actually because we get to go back and do the same thing day after day, and it's a great way to
Hmm.
learn photography. You
Hmm.
get to mess up and learn and do it again, and
And
mess
try
up
again.
and
Yes.
learn and do it again. So
Yes. It's so
yes,
true. You always want another shot at it
yes.
because you have to get a feel sometimes, you know?
Well, and yeah, it's another way that that mindset comes in. So when we hurry, when we're, have you ever had a good shot that comes out of the hurry? Like, hurry up and get the lens cap off and get the camera out and
That's true.
hurry, hurry, hurry. Coming back to that breath and slowing down and being more mindful about how you get that shot and enjoying that moment. That's
Hmm.
when you get those shots.
Hmm. I was going to ask you about that because you said when I asked what your favorite species was or what favorite place, describe to me. You said it's not an actual place. Describe
Yes.
to me what you said.
So for me, it's I call it my flow state. So it's anywhere where, and honestly, it normally happens when I'm alone. And I can have it with other clients. It's when you're really in the moment. And we've all had it as photographers where you look at your watch and, oh, it's been 3 hours. What do you mean it's been 3 hours?
Hmm.
But you're in that state where nothing else comes into your mind. In yoga, we call it drishti, and it's an intentional state where you're not thinking about anything else. My husband's a fly fisherman, and it's the same when you're fly fishing. You're just completely in that moment, and that is my favorite place in photography. It doesn't matter for me if it's a gopher, if it's a lake, if it's a ocean sunset, if it's a bird, if it's a sloth. It doesn't matter. It's if I can find that place and it's in me, I create it.
Mm, I
Yeah.
need help doing that. How do you coach people to do that if you have a client, like a one-on-one client, and you see them struggling with that?
Yeah, so a lot of it is breath. A lot of it comes back to breathing and slowing down. So when we get in that hurried state of taking pictures, and a lot of them don't work like you know it. I know people
Mhm,
listening know what I'm talking about when you're in
mhm.
that hurried state, and then you get upset with yourself and you're uptight, and
Yep,
when you take that breath and go, okay, what is not working? Okay, let's come back, and coming back, and it's practicing that state. So often when people are starting out, I'll let them take a few pictures and then I'll redirect them. Okay, you got your safety shot. So now let's come into
yep,
the moment. Let's take a breath. What can you do better? What can you, and that's when they start to come into their state and they start to worry about composition and lighting and getting lower, or,
yeah.
doing what they need to do. So slowing it down, coming into that mindful state. And it's like we talked about earlier, where that mindset of positivity that photographers have about looking at beautiful light. And this starts to become a thing in your life. Like, my kids are killing me today. Oh, yeah, if I breathe and slow down, we all need to slow down. Maybe they don't need to go to hockey today. We just need to stop. Let's sit down.
That's
Let's
right.
stop.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Definitely. I have 5 kids. I know that. I remember those days.
yeah,
Remember those days. And I resonate with that because I can be hurried with photography, getting the camera on the monopod or the tripod and, you know, hitting my leg as I get out of the truck and like just, falling in through the snow or something. And like, I have to stop and make myself actually breathe,
yes,
slow down your breath and really just pause and think. Even if I'm looking through the viewfinder, it's
yeah,
still like breathe, slow
yeah,
down, take in the moment. And sometimes even putting that camera down and taking in the moment. I remember watching a huge bull moose in a snowstorm. It was so magical. I had front row seat from a car and I thought, I'm putting my camera down. I'm putting my camera down for a
yeah,
minute and just going to take in this moment that I may never have again exactly like, I mean, I won't exactly like that. And
yeah.
you have to take the stress out of it because there's so much adrenaline sometimes.
There is so much adrenaline, and I think it's something that comes, in photography. When you're first starting out, you want that really sharp shot, and then you want that really close-up shot. You want their eyelashes, and then you want to back off, and you want to get more of the landscape and the habitat shot. And I think it's part of that progression that we can put the camera down and have that moment. And to just add to that, like I talk to the animals and in my
Oh,
head.
yeah.
So
I
I
talk out
can't,
loud and my husband's like,
yes,
they don't know you, right?
I didn't know I talked out loud until a client said that to me. I talked to a lizard and I said, it'd be much nicer if you climbed up on the rock in the sunlight. And it did. And the client turned to me and said, are you like Dr. Doolittle or something? Yeah, I do talk to them out loud. I think more often than I know.
Yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
talking to yourself and talking to that whole, okay, slow down, just slow
Mhm,
down.
mhm.
And I think part of what happens when I work with people and then they go and do this on their own, they hear me in their head. That's what they tell me anyway. You were in my head and I slowed down. So, yeah, but we get in that frantic state and
Yeah,
nothing goes well in that state.
that's so
And
true.
then I will add that I always add, and I'm surprised how many photographers has told me they do it as well, where I will always say thank you. So, thank you for the moment.
Yes, I was just gonna say, and finding those moments to be grateful, it comes up over and over where we're grateful for the moment, but also say thank you to the animal. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
a fun ritual. I mean,
Yes.
it's very sweet, and it is those moments are just I always feel like we're just kind of pulling a veil aside and getting to see these moments that otherwise we'd just be driving by, and not paying attention to what we get to
Yeah.
see. And it's nice to take a moment to be grateful for that, getting to see something so beautiful and peaceful because
Yes.
life is pretty crazy. So I love that. And I'm gonna have your voice in my head now. I hope everyone will because it's such good advice with the adrenaline and the passion that we all have, just to slow down and to also remember the people and around you, and because that energy transmits to other people as well. I don't know if you feel that the same way, but
Yeah, and that's the part of holding space. So,
yes.
even if you're with your peers and you feel like they're amazing photographers standing next to you or they're better than you, putting that camera down for a minute and having that grateful moment out loud and showing them that, it they will do it. They will take it on. And it's okay to not take 10,000 pictures of a sloth, you know. Oh, okay, so I got a good picture. I'm just going to enjoy a moment,
Yes,
like,
yes.
and helping the photographer next to you put that camera down for a second and have that moment. Like,
Hmm.
I've talked to Scott and Jackie about that, about, when they put the camera down and have that moment, like
Yes.
just that is the moment that fills your soul, right?
Yeah.
um I One of the things I love about photography is that we capture those moments, and I have a baby granddaughter now, and I want her to see all these things,
Yes.
but yeah, having those moments is really what gets you coming back, right?
I love this. I wanted to show this because it's so cute. It's so cute. I hope someday this happens to me.
So I was so thrilled today because I was taking family pictures for my daughter, and my granddaughter realized that she could see herself on the back of
Mhm.
the
Yes.
camera. So I tell her all the time that this will be your camera when we go to Africa when you're 7. So
Oh, I love that. That's what I'm hoping for too, that my kids allow me to do that. Like, definitely indoctrinate with that camera and national parks and animals.
yes, she will love
I'm
photography.
You
She
will love
will.
it no matter what. So, do you want to talk a little bit? We've touched on it, but how do we deal with imposter syndrome?
Oh, well, I'm still dealing. I'm no expert.
Yes. How do you deal
Um,
with it?
so I really a pivotal moment for me was Jackie Matichuk, actually. So,
Mhm.
uh,
She's coming
I
on in May. I'm excited. She's
yeah,
coming in May. Yep.
she's an amazing human, and what a great ambassador for photography and for women.
Hmm.
So I think most of us deal with this, and women especially, we deal with imposter syndrome a lot.
Hmm.
But Jackie and I don't live that far apart in Alberta, and
Hmm.
I've admired her photography for a long time. I knew that we're both f-stop ambassadors, f-stop bags.
Hmm.
So our paths had kind of crossed, and then our paths started getting closer together, and we had interacted online a couple of times, and I knew she was coming to Costa Rica, and I kind of jokingly said, I'll come pick you up. And she said, okay.
Oh, that's amazing. See, this
And
community is much smaller than we think.
and then I went, oh, what have I done? And then I had this huge moment of imposter syndrome.
Oh, no. Yes, I can say that. I can understand that.
So she got in my truck and we talked for 9 hours straight because that's how long our drive was. Because she was confident enough in me that she let me drive her 9 hours away from everybody else.
Mm,
And, and yeah, to learn that she had had imposter syndrome and to learn that her journey was so similar to mine. And she was so
mhm.
kind, and she holds that space for me. So,
That's wonderful.
I think the best way to deal with imposter syndrome is probably to hold space for other photographers and to start to help them with their imposter syndrome, because it helps you reflect on how silly it is that some of the things you say to yourself, like
Yeah.
this internal dialogue that we have, especially
Ugh, it's
women that
horrible.
have this dialogue that goes all the time.
It's horrible.
um
Yeah.
yeah, and somebody taught me along quite a few years ago. It was kind of one of those life-changing moments, was to talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend or to your daughter. And so when I start to go down that hole of like, what am I doing? Should I be teaching people? Am I good enough to do this?
Oh,
Like,
I
my
know. Yeah.
pictures aren't as good as theirs. What is to bring myself back to, what would I tell you? Or what would I
Right.
tell,
Right.
Tracy? Or yeah, yeah.
I know. My husband will say, "Don't talk about my wife like that." It's like, "Oh,
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
cool." Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm
And
saying
now,
these things,
now that I
but
have a granddaughter,
oh, yeah.
hearing, like, if that stuff was to come out of my mouth and for her to hear it, that
Yes.
would really bother me now. So
Right.
that's kind of
Exactly.
what I keep in my mind.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
important. And I mean, I had a friend just today that said, "Know your worth. Know your worth."
Yes.
And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." And then I had to say it back to her later. It's
Yes.
just like we're constantly
And that's
sort of
the holding the space, right?
yeah.
Like, you give what you get. So,
I think,
and
yeah, we're
surround yourself with
so
those
true.
people. If you're surrounding yourself with those photographers that it won't share and,
Right.
take your space physically, don't hang out with them.
That's
Just
right,
don't.
that's right. I just got back from a trip to Yellowstone, and one of the days, there were 13 women on a snow coach with it was the driver and 13 other seats. We had it packed, and there was every opportunity for ego or, rudeness to be there, and, the kindness and giving up space, giving up their spot, feed "Do you need a snack? Is everybody okay?" I mean, it was really refreshing to see that type of environment, and it's something you just have to keep hoping for the
Yes.
rest of us, to continue that. Like we were talking before we got on, just that abundance mindset of instead of scarcity and competition,
Yes.
let's try to just
Yes.
like there's room enough for everyone, there's enough world for everyone to shoot. We
Yeah.
don't have to fight over the nature.
Yes.
There's plenty.
Yeah, you do better when you know better. So, you
Yes,
treat
so
people how you want
true.
to be treated, and hopefully they go home and think about what they did that day and do better the next day,
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
there's grace for people if they make a mistake, for sure, but, you wanna have grace for other people, and not everybody's having the best day, but I mean, I feel like that has been something we talk about constantly is people really wanting to get rid of that competitive feel in photography, and so, and I'm not that far into this journey, so but for me, it's like if I can change my mind and not feel competitive and then surround myself with people like that, then maybe like it's growing little by little
yes.
where there's not as much competition and gatekeeping, but I
Yeah, and
really appreciate that.
I definitely think it's definitely in photography.
Mhm.
I think it's even in yoga, right? Like, and
That's
it's such a
interesting, yes.
shame that it's there. And that like talking about your clients like they're your property, or if you line up 15 photographers on the same picture, every one of those pictures is different. So
Mhm. Mhm.
why do we have this scarcity mindset over the, I want the shot? It's not your shot.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
you're
Right.
you get your shot, and they will get their shot.
That's
And
right.
and your, as far as clientele and guiding, your people find you.
That's
Like
right.
I you know I wouldn't guide the same people as you, and I want you to have people. I'll refer to people to you for the Tetons because I
Mhm.
don't
Mhm.
guide there. And,
Mhm.
once you feel that energy, you'll, send people my way. This is
That's
how the
right.
world should work.
That's how it should work. That's right.
It's not about gatekeeping.
It's healthier for everybody. Hopefully. Well, it's just been I've learned so much today, and I know people are gonna learn things and take things away from this. It's been a really rich discussion and things I wanna continue to think about, and, hopefully that mindset it's a daily thing for me. I think social media makes it that way too. It's tough. The comparison thing is tough with social media. But to have the one-on-one, like you said with Jackie, that's different and that changes things. We have to see each other one-on-one. That's one of the reasons I want to do this podcast, to get people out from their profile photo and like see real people and hear their real stories.
Right. To know that, Jackie tells this great story about when she first talked to Ken, and she felt like she completely tanked it. Like she walked away thinking that was not happening.
And now it
And
is. Yeah.
like, yeah, to know that that's how she felt is, well, maybe maybe everybody feels this way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I have to
it's,
say, she was one of the first people and we had never messaged before. We followed each other, but we had never messaged before. She was one of the first people to message me and congratulate me on the podcast. And that was first, it was exciting. And then it's
yes,
like, but it was just a really good example of
yeah,
taking the time to reach out to someone and be a real person and really be kind. And so
yeah.
that was really neat. And so she'll be on in May, and I'm really excited to meet her and talk with her and learn from her. So that'll be really fun.
So maybe that's something that we can encourage everybody to do in the social media place, because everybody thinks it's such a negative place.
Yes.
When you hear there's all these things about, follow five people, leave five comments, and post, and then you'll get more. How about we do something like you leave two supportive comments for, whoever your people are,
That's
whether
right.
that's women in photography or men in photography, kids in photography, whatever it is,
Yeah,
go and find your people and leave two meaningful comments that'll
that's
change
right.
their day. And maybe that'll start coming back to you.
That's right. Send notes of encouragement, and maybe they aren't public. Maybe it's private. Maybe you don't even
Yeah.
have to have everyone see it.
Not for a
Yeah.
reason. You're not doing it to get anything.
That's
Like,
right. So that's a
just,
good assignment for us all to send notes this week. Send a couple notes this week to people and tell them something that, a thank you note, an inspiration, something to
yeah.
make other
Yeah.
people feel good. That's so true. That's really good. I love that. Well, let's do the speed round. Are you ready for
All
the speed
right.
round?
Okay.
And I tell people it doesn't have to be that speedy. So, what's something in your camera bag that you can't do without?
Okay, you're gonna laugh.
Okay.
It's a microfiber towel, like it's like face cloth size, and I use it for a sweat cloth in Costa Rica. And you would be surprised how many I give away to my clients because they're dying. It
Mhm,
also keeps my
mhm.
hands clean, and if I need to put my camera down on the ground, it goes down on the ground first. So
Yeah,
I
that's
love it.
good.
Like I
That's a
buy
good
mine
tip.
at the dollar store in Canada,
I was just gonna
and
say that. Like, I hear we have the Dollar Tree, and that's where I'll buy like a 4 pack of microfiber cloths. Yep,
yep.
that's right.
Yes.
It's not
And
expensive.
I now keep them in my bag and hand them out to people. There's your nice gift to somebody that's having the photographer next to you that can't keep the sweat out of their eyes, here,
That is
have a
so
nice
true.
clean towel.
Carry some extras with you. On our Yellowstone trip, Maureen Matson gave us all a little gift bag, which was so nice. She
Oh,
did
yes.
not have to do that. And then inside, she had a microfiber cloth, but she had put one of her images on of a
Oh,
bison. And that's, I mean,
yeah.
we saw so many bison. So it was really, really nice. So that was a nice gift. I didn't even know you could do that.
I didn't know either. I'll have to go figure that out now.
It was really cool. Yeah.
I've been giving out dollar store towels.
And what's something in your camera bag that you bought but you never use?
Um, well, okay. I'm going to let you in a little secret. Don't tell anybody. I have filters and I never put them
Oh
on.
my goodness. Everyone says this. This is the most popular answer.
Yeah.
The most
Uh,
popular answer. Yep.
I'd really like to, and I should probably take a weekend and go figure it out, but
Yeah.
I never seem to do it.
Yeah. I
So
took them to Alaska with me and brought them right back home and had never taken them out. So,
yeah. So
yeah.
if you're somebody that sells filters and you want to hang out with me for the weekend, I'd be happy to learn. So
Okay. Favorite snack while editing or driving around looking for wildlife?
depends on my mood, but I'm a something between a trail mix and a Twizzler red licorice. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I have to be careful. That's my travel thing too, is Twizzlers. I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, I don't need that today, but I really want it.
I like the ones you pull apart. I like fiddle
Yeah.
food.
I've
Yeah.
been doing that. Like, I feel like that's been my since teenage years, like the Twizzler thing. So favorite photographer, author, book, artist, you can pick one.
Oh, well, I do. I seriously have a crush on Jackie. She is
Aw,
the most fabulous human. So I
mhm.
would have to say Jackie.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. And then best piece of advice you've gotten about photography.
Oh, best piece of advice. Um, that you're never done learning. Like there is no, like you don't ever get there. Don't expect to be done. Like
Yeah.
that every time you learn something, you know how much you don't know. Like
It's so
um
true. And don't be
every time.
embarrassed about it, because I will get embarrassed
No.
about it when like there's a seasoned photographer next to me that's been doing it for 20 years and I don't know what they're talking about, you
Or
know?
you forget that thing. Oh, I
Or
knew that.
right, right. Or because you've moved on and learned other things, sometimes you forget the thing before. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, let's go back to that. Learn that
Yeah.
again, refresh. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
true. It's so
There
true.
is
And
no end
maybe,
game.
yeah, and
Yeah.
find people
Yeah.
in your life that are okay with answering those questions and helping you
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
If you're
important.
standing next to a guide that says, I already told you that, get a different guide.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Don't stick with that.
Yeah.
Very good piece of advice. And I always say, like, find someone that will um, critique your photography when you ask, but in a nice
Oh,
way,
yes. Oh,
not when you
well,
don't ask.
yes. My daughter is an artist, and I learned a lot about critiquing when she went through school. And yeah, there's definitely ways to do it and ways not to. So yeah, try and find the positive thing. Like
Yeah,
lift the person up and help them learn. Like,
that's
yeah,
right. Yeah, I was an English teacher, so going through so many kids writings and trying to pull the positive out first before you just tear them apart. It's like, don't
yeah,
do that. Because I don't want
yeah,
everyone to write again. Like you don't want to do that to a photographer. They don't you want them to keep taking photos,
yeah.
not quitting. So um and then do you have a wildlife experience that most filled you or filled your soul, filled you
Uh,
emotionally?
I thought you might ask this one. So I have a lot of encounters with animals that are have filled my soul, and I
Mhm,
could tell you
mhm,
countless. But I
mhm.
had one a few weeks ago with a person that I want to tell you about. My clients came. They're 80 years old,
Oh,
and my
that's so
client
cool.
just upgraded to a Canon R5 from like a 40D. So huge upgrade.
Yes.
And he had taken a photography course with me through McBain Camera in Alberta,
Mhm.
and asked if he could come to Costa Rica, him and his wife, they're both photographers. And I said, absolutely. So they actually stayed at my house. And and we went out and took pictures of monkeys. And the first couple of days, I could tell he was frustrated. He kept telling me to focus on his wife and to help her. And I would step back, and he was kind of a grumpy old guy, a little gruff. And I'd step back and very quietly say, "How you doing back here?" "Oh, I'm fine. Worry about my wife." So we got a shot of a monkey. I knew he got it in the moment, and we got home, and I put it up on the computer, and he got teary.
Oh, that is beautiful. That's
that was my
beautiful.
that
Yeah,
was my moment. So
I
yeah,
love that. I love that he's still, improving and trying and wanting to do that at 80. And I hope
yeah.
that for all of us. I so want to be able to hold a
See,
camera and
it's still gonna
focus.
make me cry.
Oh, it's
So
beautiful.
yeah, no,
And what
it's
beautiful moments you get to witness as you're guiding people through these experiences and retreats.
yeah,
It's
what an
and
amazing thing to be 80 years old and still want to learn,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
Like, yes,
I hope I can still do
yes.
that. I so hope. I would be so I'll be so sad when I can't do that anymore. I want that camera in my hands forever. And as you're moving forward, you're going to be helping so many more people with focus photo tours and with your own retreats and business. Do you have goals? Your goals this year? You've got big
Oh,
goals this year
I
and the
got big
next.
goals this year. My
Yeah.
husband's asking me, "Are you sure we're still married?"
You're like, I'm busy.
I can fit you in here and here. Um, yeah, no, I have a mindful photography retreat with Tracy that I'm very excited about in June, and we have
And
one
that's the
spot.
other Tracy, the other Tracy.
Yes, this is Tracy Holiday.
Hmm.
We have one spot left on that, and I'm super excited to share that space and continue that journey with
Yes.
the people that have signed up. Uh, I'm the photographer of interest at the Light Chasers conference this year. So
Oh,
it's really hard
wow.
for me to get up and talk about myself. So that's one of my goals this year, is to get better at doing that. So,
That's wonderful.
when they told me that I had to talk about myself for half an hour, because I was like, "What's the topic?" They're like, "You." I was like, "What?"
Well, you have so much to offer. We've talked about so many rich things in this hour. You're going to have plenty to share, plenty of
Well,
beautiful things to share.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really I'm embracing that I am inspiring other photographers to embrace their journey, whatever that is, whether it's
Yes.
photography or, they need a change in their life or they need to shift their focus. And yes, you can see where focus came from. So,
I think
yeah.
that a lot of people need to hear that, and this is totally not totally off subject, but a little bit off of it a little bit, but I feel like women, when their kids go to school or they're hitting some different point in their life, like I
Yes.
have changed careers too, like you. I used to be a teacher, I used to be a magazine editor, like now I'm got a camera and I'm doing all this stuff. There is a time in our life when maybe we do hit a hole, a dark place.
Yes.
And then the beauty of that dark place is that you get to find who you really are
Yeah,
and climb out
you
of it
really do.
and
And
step
inspire
out
your
of it even
kids.
slowly. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
So, if people are entering that part of their life, just hang on, keep stepping through it, keep following what you love and find people that will hold space for you, like you were saying, Dee, and find things that make you
Yeah.
passionate and that you fall in love with and follow those things. Follow your gut. Like you said earlier, you knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
So important.
sometimes we just busy ourselves with, things. Find your passion, go for it. Like if you want to crochet
Mhm.
hats, do it. Like,
And I mean, what is that's why I finally was like, what is stopping me? I want to do what I want to do. And it's
yes.
okay for me to say it's my turn now.
Yeah.
It's my turn to find what I want to do, and my kids will learn from that and hopefully inspire them to do the same thing or to realize, people over 40, women over 40 can do really cool things.
Yes.
So I think a lot more people are realizing that. I don't know. I think Gen Xers are pretty strong and want
Yeah.
to do that. So that's my
Well,
opinion.
yeah, feeding that bringing yourself into your marriage, into your relationship with your kids as a happy, fulfilled person, like not
Mhm.
waiting for that to happen to you. Like
Yep,
you need to do it for yourself.
that's
And what
right.
a beautiful thing to show it to your friends, and like the ripple effect that happens when you like, oh, my friends thought I was crazy. They thought I
Yep,
was nuts. How about your financial security? I'm like,
that's right.
um, something has to change. So
That's right.
yeah.
That's
And
right.
now, my daughters are inspired. I hope my granddaughters inspire your
Hmm.
friends. Do that thing that fills
Hmm.
your passion. Yeah.
That's right. Thank you so much, Dee. This has been so good. It's been such a rich discussion. I'm so thankful for it. Tell people where they can find you.
So I'm pretty easy to find. I'm D Webb Photography on Instagram and
Hmm.
Facebook and all the
Hmm.
places. You can even find me on as D Webb on Facebook.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, with Focus Photo Tours, we
That's
have
great.
a website and um, yeah,
Instagram.
Jack Instagram and
Hmm.
Facebook page
Hmm.
there that I'm
Hmm.
sure will be going gangbusters because the Jackie Stone is so good at putting that stuff
Oh,
together. She's
she's
done an
amazing at social
amazing
media.
job.
Amazing at social media. I mean, I told them that. I'm like, the way that you guys showcase the bears and your clients on your social media is so generous. It's
But it comes
unbelievable.
back to that energy of giving. Like they
Yeah,
showcase other photographers and their
that's right.
clients' work, and there's no, this is mine, and
I
don't
love
talk
that.
about other people that come on their tours and
Yeah, it's
stuff. They
wonderful.
they share. It's a beautiful
That's
space. Yeah.
wonderful. Well, I'm so excited for your launch for your all of you, the four of you. I'm excited for the launch on officially on March 16th. And everyone needs to go follow that Instagram and look at the tours and see what they want to sign up for because
Yes.
four
And,
wonderful people.
even if you can't right now because you don't have the time or the kids are little or you're not
Yeah,
ready, then send us those great comments and follow along, and
that's
we'll be
right.
happy to have you there.
That's right.
So,
Because it doesn't cost anything to support people. It's so
no,
true. Yeah.
no.
Well, Dee, thank you so much. It's been really good. And I just appreciate your sharing your story with us and being vulnerable with us. It's great. It's what this podcast is about. So I really appreciate it. And we have other great photographers coming up in March. Tiffany Taxis is coming up March 18th, and Philip Scrimshaw is coming up, I believe, March 25th. And then Kelly Wasson Miller is coming in April. My brain just like, oh, Deirdre Denali Rosenberg is coming. I'm so excited about that. And then Jackie is coming up. Trish Hennessy
Yes.
is coming up. We have so many great people coming up this spring. So if you would like
Yeah.
to follow Wildlife Conversations podcast, you can do that on Instagram. You can also follow me at Jen L. Ritchie on Instagram, Jen Ritchie Photography on Facebook and YouTube. And the podcast is on YouTube under my name, Jen Ritchie Photography. Please like and subscribe there. I would love and really appreciate your support for this little podcast that just keeps on going. I'm trying. I told you, Dee, like this is not fancy. This is just me.
No, I love it. I think this is what the world needs more of, the real conversations and real people being, vulnerable in their
Yeah.
space. And yeah.
Yeah, because we all love this so much. And it's just, of course, we all could talk about it forever. So it's really fun to get away from the world for an hour and talk about this stuff. So again, I really appreciate you and thank you so much for joining me. So anytime you want to come back, just let me know.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay,
And
thanks,
thank you
Dee.
for having a wonderful podcast.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
All
Bye,
right.
everyone. We'll see you on another one. Thanks, Dee. Bye.